Oilers Nation After Dark begins now.
That's the only reaction I have tonight after that one. The 6, it was the place to be this evening. Oilers Leafs, hockey night in Canada. Taylor Swift down the road. Of course, Oliver Ekman-Larsson's 1,000th NHL game. That one.
Where were you when?
Where were you when, of course, as we all remember that. That game, it lived up to the hype, man, as we knew. Saturday night, early start, Oilers Leafs out on the East Coast there. It was going to be something, and the Edmonton Oilers, for the most part, played well until yet again another third period blown lead. They love blowing leads right now. 3 games in a row. They've done it as the Edmonton Oilers fall 4-3 in overtime to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Hello and welcome to Oilers Nation After Dark. I'm your host, Aaron Bordato, and I'm not in a great mood right now after that one has slipped out of our fingertips. It was right there. Now, Pat, you did point out we still got 1 point, but there's no way you come out of that one being happy, not incredibly disappointed. And the chat sounds incredibly disappointed. Ace 96, Skinner was shit yet again. Nathan, 4 goals on 22 is horseshit. JHB, just ridiculous. This game from Adam is firmly on Bouchard. Stu gave us 900 goaltending till OT. More on that later. Ryan S. Did Bouchard just forget how to play hockey? Connor Brown, his own teammate, throw him under the bus. The honeymoon period is over. Skinner needs to go. Scotty, this game can honestly be blamed on 2 players. I think I agree with you there. And Bo, who just got engaged, actually, congratulations to Bo, says, I'm getting to the point where every time there's a breakaway, I'm worried, especially when Stuart Skinner comes 5 feet out of his net and falls on his ass. I'm frustrated right now, but that game, it had it all. Coomzy, goals, high-flying offense, a ridiculously dirty hit from one Ryan Reaves that, dude, watching those replays again of Darnell Nurse being clearly concussed, flopping over the ice there, leaking from his face. That was a tough sight to see. I know a lot of people in the chat here are quick to harp on one Darnell Nurse, but he's been great lately, and that was bullshit from Ryan Reaves. We will have more on that later. Overall, Coomzy, initial thoughts after the Edmonton Oilers fall to the Leafs in overtime. And it's not just falling in overtime and blowing a lead. It's to the goddamn Leafs, man. How are you feeling?
And the frustrating thing is, it's Oliver Ekman-Larsson's 1,000th game in the NHL. And that's such a memorable one. It's when are you going to, how many times do you get to play against Oliver Ekman-Larson?
OEL. He was on the ice for the game winner.
It was super exciting. So, you'd like to think that you can capture life by the horns and wrap up an opportunity like that. But the Oilers couldn't do it. And we talked about OEL the entire game. And you see him skating behind Mitch Marner on that game-winning goal, and he gets involved. It was his night.
It was all about Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Now, you should have heard the jokes going around the studio because they just, at the beginning of the game, they were bringing it up way too frequently. Like, whoa, it's got Oilers,
McDavid,
Leafs,
1,000 points.
There's everything, 1,000 points. And OEL's 1,000th
Leafs
NHL
legend, baby. Not a single highlight of him playing with the Leafs in his clip. He's played like 6 games for the Leafs.
Yeah, where he's like the crowd before the game having to cheer him on. Or like, if they watched him play 9 games this season, I don't
wearing
know.
A practice number 95. Like,
I digress. We go there because we're frustrated, but we'll talk about the game kind of from the top, right? Because this game had an incredible pace to start. It lived up to the hype immediately. There was 2 goals, not even 5 minutes into the game. They were going up and down the ice nonstop, and you went, oh shit, underbetters, look out this evening. I don't know. It was all over the place. And then all of a sudden, after about, the 10-minute mark, it really felt like things settled down for both teams. It was like a heavyweight fight. You come out first round trying to get the knockout swinging, and then you settle in a little bit, playing a little more defensive because both teams have offenses that can kill you if you make mistakes. After that first period there, it kind of just felt like they were sitting back, more controlled game. And I don't know, thoughts about the ups and downs swings of this game tonight?
It felt like it had the atmosphere of a playoff game. And it's interesting because we talked about this before, and the Oilers and Leafs, Edmonton, Toronto, they're not geographical rivals. I mean, obviously there is a rivalry, especially from Edmonton towards Toronto. Every Canadian market dislikes Toronto. That's just how it is. But I don't think there's been games this year for the Oilers, even when they played a team like Calgary, their provincial rivals. It doesn't have the same intensity as this Edmonton-Toronto game, where it really felt like two good teams, two contenders trying to prove that they are the better team, that they are the serious contender. And I mean, I think the Leafs had this one circled in their calendar and they thought this is an opportunity.
Well, for OEL.
Yeah. Yeah. It's OEL's 1000th game. You asked, where were you when Oliver Ekman-Larsson played his 1000th game as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs?
What did I say to you? Golden goal, Jose Bautista bat flip, OEL's 1000th game. Where were you when? But
down at the barn.
This is no, we were all
crying, getting emotional, thinking, wow, remember this.
What a career. So the Oilers, once again, third period blown lead. And it was how that happened, man. Bobby McMahon going down the ice on a breakaway where Evan Bouchard just asleep on the play says, I don't know how many times I've seen him this year quit defending a breakaway and just saying, nah, Stu's got me. If you've been watching this year, Stu doesn't have you many times this year. I don't think he's going to make the save. And that one was brutal because Skinner was half out of his net, completely undecided. And I kind of understand it, but you have to make clear, decisive decisions. So that one right there. And like I said, I don't want to put it all on one guy. So I'm going to put it on two guys. But I think it's fair to say this evening, that's Evan Bouchard and Stuart Skinner, a huge factor in that third period collapse. They were just awful there. And Stuart Skinner, I thought to start the game, looked pretty damn good, all things considered. He was, wow. I don't know what's up with his positioning and footwork or whatever. He is just flopping around that blue paint nonstop, giving me a heart attack sitting here in the office. But he did make a number of big saves in the first period. Then the game calmed down. But when you need your guy in the clutch to make you a save, I don't know, Pat, you just said to me before the show, it's starting to get hard here to defend one Stuart Skinner. The chat looks like they're turning right now. And if you look at his numbers, I said he came into tonight, won his last two games. Now, he had sub 900 in both of those games. And you look at his stats tonight, he's got an 8-18, 18 saves on 22 shots. We'll start with Stuart Skinner here, Coomzy. What's going on with our boy? Because this simply is not going to cut it. Doug's in. We need a save, please. Loyal to Oil. We want picks. It's getting tough out there in the Oilers' crease lately.
It is. This is, allowing 4 goals on 22 shots. This is one of those games where you look at how the Oilers played and you think they were the better team. Yep. They went into Toronto's building. They were the away team. And I felt for a good chunk of the game, they were the team that was dictating the play. I felt like Toronto was the team that was chasing a little bit more. They were the team that was trying to keep up with what Edmonton was doing. Edmonton was dictating what was going on for a good chunk of the game. And it makes sense because think about in that second period, they had the long power play. That kind of got in the way of the flow of the game. And it felt like, the Oilers way more shots on net than Toronto, 58-39 even strength shot attempts. The scoring chances for Edmonton, 23 at even strength, 11 for the Leafs. This is a game that I think from top to bottom line, the defense, even with Darnell Nurse getting injured halfway through the game, the Oilers played largely a strong game. It was only a few meltdowns really that they had. There's really 2 or 3 instances, both involving Evan Bouchard and Stuart Skinner, you can look at in this game. Otherwise, they played a strong game where, like we said a minute ago, there was a playoff atmosphere in Toronto, and the Oilers largely matched that this game. And it's unfortunate because we could easily be sitting here talking about a 3-2 win in Toronto where they played and did a bunch of things well, but instead, we're talking about soft goaltending, turnovers, poor back checks, and that makes you forget everything good that happened in this game.
Absolutely. It's a tough pill to swallow, and I said you still get the 1 point, but this many games in a row like this, and I know it's a cliche, but 60-minute effort. There's just a couple lapses there, most notably Evan Bouchard and Stuart Skinner. I laughed at this. Who's in the chat? I think it was Nathan. He just said, I can't even, guys. I'm out. Take care, y'all. He's such a white girl. He can't even right now. And I agree with you, man. Hosting the show tonight, it's tough. Coomzy, you even put on your rally cap throughout that third period.
It worked.
Overtime to get it going. It also looked pretty natural with the way that you were doing it. I mean, shout out rally caps. I see you're struggling with it right now. But it looks pretty natural. It kind of looks like you are just wearing it. But we talked Stuart Skinner. Talk about the other guy, one Evan Bouchard, right? Because we say it all the time. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. Sometimes you can deal with those defensive blunders, or I can deal with them and not accepting them, but you can at least wrap your head around it because he's so good offensively. And we saw it a couple nights ago against the Islanders. Bouch, classic 1 goal, 2 assist game, was all over the ice. He had 8 shots on goal on that one. But it's the inconsistencies from game to game because tonight, Evan Bouchard, while he did play over 25 minutes tonight, you are on the ice for basically half the game. Errors are going to happen. Mistakes are going to happen. But Coomzy, I'm sitting here yet again in this same goddamn chair talking about Evan Bouchard quitting on plays on the team, having brain farts, stopping skating, stop moving his feet. It is getting ridiculous at this point. And I say with every coming day here, his next contract seems like it's dropping by the dollar amount every single day. Evan Bouchard, yet again, another bad game. I want to point out to you that before that 3-point game against the Islanders, Bouchard had gone 4 games without a point. Then he gets 3 points. His last 2 games, he hasn't gotten a point. I'm getting way more bad Bouch than good Bouch lately, and this isn't a fair trade-off right now. And when you play that many minutes, you need to give a shit out on the ice. And Evan Bouchard lately looks like he's lacking in that category.
He's kind of the perfect embodiment of the point that I just made, which is when you look at the totality of that game against the Leafs, you see the Oilers outshot them. They had more chances. They were the better team. They were pushing pace. The frustrating thing for Bouchard is he's the kind of player where he can play a really strong game, do a lot of things that you notice, a lot of things you don't notice, quiet things, moving the puck effectively, all this and that. You look at his underlying numbers. He plays 20 minutes at even strength. The Oilers have twice as many shot attempts as the Leafs, and they have 3 times as many scoring chances in his minutes on the ice as well. 15 scoring chances for only 5 against. But of the 5 scoring chances the Leafs are getting when Bouchard are on the ice, it's a pass up the middle that goes directly to somebody, or a 2-on-1 where he's supposed to be back checking and just kind of lollygags back Matthias Ekholm. You can see him shouting at his defensive partner on that play, thinking, this is the 3rd period of a tight game. Like, this isn't,
what are you doing?
This isn't the energy. And that's the frustrating thing about Bouchard is, I mean, there's so many things he does well that if it weren't for those 2 little plays that he made, then we're talking about a very strong game.
Absolutely. Oilers goats in. All Bouch had to do was sprint. Yeah. That's all. How difficult is that? And lately this season, it's been extremely difficult for Evan Bouchard. It's the effort, the give a shit meter. Don't make me pull it back out again. That was a last season thing, and I don't want to have to do that, but part of the panic button starting to get pulled out for one Evan Bouchard. Let's talk positives now, and we'll also kind of be a little bit negative during it. But the Edmonton Oilers, their power play, did score a goal tonight, and special teams. Their PK, perfect this evening, goes 4 for 4, but we'll talk power play to start. We'll talk about PK and the good, bad, oily. Guess which one that one's going to be, but the power play did get on the board. Leon Draisaitl scores a goal, cashes my plus 190 Leon power play point. I'd also like to make it clear, and we'll look at it later, had the Oilers won that game, I would have had a perfect 3 for 3 on Bordzy's bankroll. Would have been the first time all season, but did not happen. So they started the game. They technically go 1 for 2 on the power play. The one they missed, though, Coomzy, was a 5-minute major where I swear they didn't get one memorable chance throughout 5 minutes. It was both PP1 and PP2 not being able to do anything. I used the word fumble fucking pucks around earlier today on pre-gaming. That's how it felt tonight on the power play, or at least that 5-minute major that they were on. So they do get on the board. That will help their numbers. They go 50%, but I don't know. What did you think of their effort with the man advantage this evening? Because we said they didn't score in the last game, and maybe I forget which game they did score in, but last couple of games, even when they didn't score, the power play was looking good, looking normal, creating chances like we know them to do. Tonight, specifically that 5-minute major, wasn't really there. Your thoughts with the man advantage?
It felt like that 5-minute penalty, and we'll talk more about it. We'll go in more depth about that hit and the aftermath and what's going to happen next. But it felt like that penalty, the 5-minute penalty to Ryan Reaves in the second period, the Oilers had a prime opportunity to kind of kick the door open and kind of
put your foot on their neck.
Yeah, bury the Leafs there a little bit, extend your lead, take control of the game, and they just didn't. And I don't think the Leafs are a particularly dominant penalty-killing team. They're not a bad penalty-killing team, but this is an instance where you just saw Darnell Nurse go down. He's got blood on the ice. It's an ugly play. It's unfortunate. And, you know, there's no instance where you're going to go out and have somebody fight Ryan Reaves tonight. He's been kicked out of the game, and even then, like, you don't have fighters available. Nurse would have been the fighter, and he's out. Evander Kane's not playing. It's not going to happen. So you have to score at least one goal in that 5-minute power play, and I think they only got 2 shots. They didn't even look like good looks. So, I mean, on one hand, I understand why you're a little rattled and shell-shocked in the moments after seeing that happen to your teammate, but if there was a chance or an opportunity to bear down and kind of do something for your teammate who got hit like that, that's what they should have done, but not the best power play we've seen.
Right. If you're not going to answer physically, because, that man, Ryan Reaves, was just kicked off the ice, you got to answer on the scoreboard. Shut up that building. Talk your shit with pucks in the back of the net. A lot of people in here, G-Man, like that name. They should have had more of a response to Reaves and inject some emotion into themselves as they head into the power play. I do understand. Yeah. It's got to be tough to watch your leader, guy who wears a letter like Darnell Nurse. Like, dude, he tried to get up at one point and just fell back over again. That shit is hard to watch when you, as I said, say whatever you want about Darnell Nurse. He's a huge part of this team and this community. You don't want to see that happen to literally anyone, but especially your guy. And I don't know, it was almost like a momentum killing 5-minute power play is what it felt like, which is crazy that I just said those words.
Right?
That's what I mean. It was after a dirty hit like that and you get 5 minutes, they were able to find new life and keep on moving on. Let's get into it now. Let's talk about the Greta scoring summary brought to you by Greta Bar Yeg, my favorite spot in the city to couple crush cold ones. And let me tell you, I could use a couple cold ones right now. I just saw Patrick Puff behind the scenes take a sip of a cold one. I bet he wishes he was a Greta Bar Yeg. They got great arcade games, awesome bar, incredible food. I could also eat my feelings away this evening. Greta Bar Yeg, go check them out. My favorite spot in the entire city of Edmonton. All right. So it started good. Started really good. You could say a minute 42 into the game, Adam Henrique, Rico Suave, gets his second of the season. A man that many people in oil country have been talking about needing to step up and produce more offensively. Yeah, here we go. We're going to see it right here. Connor Brown. Brown Mark featuring Rico right here, people. What is this? The Stanley Cup Finals. Brownie with a great touch pass off the glass. Kind of leads Matthias Janmark to skate right into it. And Janmark, for better or worse, he's kind of like a Bouchard. He giveth, he taketh away. He gaveth right here with a beautiful touch pass out front, saucered 2-1 Adam Henrique. And how he was able to even get his stick on it was incredible. A total savvy veteran goal scorer's goal. Gets it past Stolars, and you're sitting there going, hey, 1-0 lead to start this out in the 6th. As I said, this city is bumping tonight. I think in any city in North America, it's probably the 6th tonight, but that was a beautiful goal to start it off, Coomzy, and vibes were good here.
The vibes were really good because right before that, of course, you had the ceremony for all of our Larsons. 1000th NHL game, and people were getting excited. People were getting emotional. Everyone in the building was there for all of Larson's 1000th game, and Adam Henrique decided, you know what? This isn't Oliver Ekman-Larsson's night. This is going to be my night, and I'm going to open the scoring. And to be quite honest, this line, like you said, in the Stanley Cup Final, they were really good. And they haven't been that good so far to start the season. The Oilers haven't been getting very many goals out of their third and fourth line. So this is a pretty well-paid fourth line. Adam Henrique specifically, well-paid third line center. He's a guy who has to score goals for the Oilers.
Janmark's a well-paid fourth liner as well. And Connor Brown, we just love him. I thought Brown, Mark, specifically, the janitor and Connor Brown were both very good tonight, obviously involved on that first goal, but they're a huge part of the PK for the Edmonton Oilers. Nuge, also great penalty kill game tonight, but Brown, Mark, you got to give them their love because, as you mentioned, it hasn't been that good so far this season, and shouts out to them. We then move to 3 minutes and 53 seconds in the game. As I said, this one started fast. And this was a tough one to watch as Ty Emerson gets in a battle there behind the net. He does win the battle. He gets the puck, kind of just hands it over to one Connor McDavid, 97, who ends up getting stripped of the puck, loses it right there in front of the net. I believe it was John Tavares who was banging away in it. I believe Mitch Marner's in there. And then Bobby McMahon scores his 5th goal of the season. This dude was all over the ice. I wouldn't stop talking about him because he's built like a brick shithouse, can fly down the ice, gets in there, greasy areas, banging away, poking at pucks, and they evened it up 1 goal apiece, not even 5 minutes into the game. Coomzy, your thoughts here? Kind of tough to see 97 lose the puck in this fashion.
Yeah, not ideal when you came out and opened the scoring and then you have your top line out there. And Bobby McMahon for the Leafs, really noticeable player in this game. He brought a lot of speed in that, just like you mentioned, a really thick player, that thick.
Several C's on that one.
Multiple C's skating around and bringing the body, bringing the physicality. I mean, this was an important goal for the Leafs because the Oilers had been setting the tempo early in the game and they battled back and brought themselves back into it quickly in the first period. So this didn't turn into a game where Edmonton gets out to an early lead because it looked like they were the team that was pressing really hard early on.
Want me to give you a positive about that goal?
Sure.
That wasn't the first shot of the game for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It was the second shot of the game. So, I don't want to laugh. That hurts my soul to even continue to think about. We move to the second period where Connor McDavid scores his 7th of the season. Second on the team in goals, only behind one Leon Draisaitl. So power play goal assisted by Hyman and Leon Draisaitl. It goes from Bouchard down to one Leon Draisaitl, who he's ready for that one-timer, locked and loaded, 29. And he rips this one, and puck luck, I guess, be turning for Zach Hyman because it goes right off of him, shoots right out onto the tape of one Connor McDavid, who, right when he buries, I love the twirl of the stick as he then holsters it back in. But, hey, you got to be lucky to be good. You got to be good to be lucky. Gina pointed out here at the office today that those are the only assists Zach Hyman tends to get, where it banks off him in front of the net. But didn't even take him very long, not even 20 seconds in to their first power play, their first man advantage. And Connor, in front of the hometown crowd, is able to get on the board. Coomzy, this was nice and a little bit lucky, if we're being completely honest.
It was a little bit lucky, but you got to be good to be lucky. You got to be lucky to be good. Those are not mutually exclusive things. Zach Hyman in front of the net just does his thing. That's what he's there annoying the goalies, distracting the defensemen. Every once in a while, the puck will bounce off your face or your ass and something good will happen. Bounces right to Connor McDavid and he buries one. We said before the game, he's now got his eyes set on 2,000 points for the NHL in his NHL career. So off to a good start now.
You think Oliver Ekman-Larsson will ever get 2,000 points?
That's an interesting thing.
People are talking.
We're wondering we're looking forward already to when Oliver Ekman-Larsson plays his 2,000th game in the NHL and what another 1,000 games of OEL could look like.
Wow. Maybe in an Oilers jersey. Who knows one day. We then go to the third period where, you've heard this before, the Oilers totally collapsed in that final frame. This one was tough to watch, man. So the Leafs get the puck down in their own end, and you'll see it as one Evan Bouchard. I pointed out to you guys how the commentator, I forget his name was, said while this was going on, Bouchard totally not panicking, and even he was surprised.
Launches into the middle.
Why
of the
to say that? Because then he immediately throws it into the ass of Colin. There is no one around you. You could just hit it off the glass and get it out. You find a way to, and that's it. Bouchard's just finding a way to make back-breaking mistakes that cost you the game, doing it over and over. Then he just kicks that little puck, I'm going to say, a little bit of a little bitch out there. And it's tough to watch. This was, you give Matthew Nice, he's a very good player. He's really coming into his own this season, but put a guy like that, or anyone, frankly, that dead in front of the slot, I do not blame Stuart Skinner. Here's Bouchard. I don't even know if that's the worst play in the game, but it's pretty bad from him there. Coomzy, your thoughts? 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Oh, never mind. Back to the net.
I don't know Evan Bouchard personally. I don't know who coached him growing up, but I can say with a 1,000% certainty that he was told at some point in his hockey life growing up, do not throw the puck into the middle of the ice. It doesn't matter who you see.
I remember being 6 years old and being told that.
It doesn't matter who you see up there, what's going on. Honestly, you would have been better off in this situation to just launch it down the ice and take an icing call. Anything would have been better than exactly
literally
that.
anything.
I understand who he sees there and that he wants to make that pass, but you've also got to understand that the Leafs are going to be forechecking through the middle of the ice. They're going to block up that lane, and it's a pretty predictable outcome given there's a reason that they always say don't throw the puck up the middle of the ice.
It's crazy, right? It's almost like it's cliche, and cliches are things for a reason. Southpaw, he was hardly being pressured too. I counted 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. There is no one on him.
Like a 1-2-2 forecheck up the middle of the ice.
And I know we talk with Bouchard that, hey, his effort things, back checking, taking the man in his own end. The one thing we know Evan Bouchard can do is break the puck out cleanly of his own end, but he is fighting it so much right now that he simply couldn't even do that. Don't worry, gets even worse as Bobby McMahon scores his second goal of the evening, 6th of the season. And this was a tough one, right? Because McDavid kind of rang it around the boards, and I'm going to say it again. Holy fuck, Evan Bouchard. There's no sponsors on the screen, but there are no other words than that. You would think this is the same replay from a couple games ago where he just stops moving his feet completely and says, Stuart Skinner, you'll make the save. I pointed out, why would you think that with the way Stu was playing tonight and everything? And this is brutal on Bouch. Tough for Matthias Ekholm. He's trying hard. Skinner gets caught out in no man's land. It's all over the place. So Ekholm was pissed at Bouch here. Is this the one that he was pissed? Everybody's saying so, in the chat because
we're not sure who he's pissed at, but he gets pissed here.
He's pissed. He was also pissed when he totally two-hand cross-checked Matthew Nyes into the net.
And then he's going like, what?
Well, brother, I think we know, but this right is tough. I mean, you're ringing around here. Bouchard, I'm not going to blame him for not being in position, but you got to win that. Like
both of them have the advantage. They're closer.
Pause, because this is just straight up. Put your head down, move
straight line,
your feet,
straight diagonal,
straight line. It's on Bouchard's
And look,
side.
he doesn't go diagonally to it. He does like a bit of a curve to it,
and then he stops at the blue line.
Controller comes unplugged.
What are you thinking? What are you doing? Give Bobby McMahon credit. Because that's a hustle play.
Yeah.
Bouchard, maybe learn from the book of one Bobby McMahon, because this was who wants it more. He's losing the race to both of them by positioning, and he wins it there by a couple feet easily. And of course, Stuart Skinner, as we see, why would you be
marks?
Why would you be in the blue paints? You know, why would you do that?
Something interesting about this play is the assist, of course, was from Oliver Ekman-Larsson. So you have to wonder in his 1000th game if Bobby McMahon saw that Ekman-Larsson threw the puck up ice and thought, you know what? I'm going to get OEL a point in his 1000th game.
Well, you know, I think everybody was thinking that tonight.
That's what I was thinking all night. I was like, is OEL going to get a point in his 1000th game? I've been waiting for this game all week.
Dude, this was, Ryan S. Bouchard's controller died. Get new batteries then, because this has happened way too many times this season. I'm not going to read Matthew's comments just because it's a little political, but I agree, brother. I agree with that as well. Chemo Man just says WTF. Percy, great point. Effort is the only thing that you can control. Stop giving up, Bouch, for fuck's sakes, is what that means. This might have already been the most I've cursed all year. I apologize if you're listening with your kids, but I'm frustrated right now. Let's get a little bit better as the Edmonton Oilers are able to tie the game up. 18:31 into the third period, so just a minute 29 left. Oil were putting on the pressure the entire time. Net pulled Stuart Skinner over there on the bench. They're banging away down low, and I don't really know how this puck got over to Leon Draisaitl the way it did. Shout out to that guy being public enemy number one in Scotiabank Arena tonight. But once again, you got to be lucky to be good. Good to be lucky. Nuge gets a touch on it here, and you'll see it. It just somehow, some way pops out to Leon Draisaitl, and he is now tied for the league lead in goals this season with 13, tied with one Sam Reinhart. And this, like a couple goals this year for Leon Draisaitl, pretty easy for him considering the way the angles he's scored a number of goals from that same spot. This one, just able to raise it over Anthony Stolarz, who is a massive human being. We'll talk about him later. Vibes were improved here, Coomzy. We were very fired up. We high-fived pretty hard right here.
This was the rally cap time.
Yeah, this was you.
This is when the hat was on in the weird way. It didn't work for the rest of the game, but it worked for this instance. This was probably the best the Oilers. It's not really a power play, but we call it a man advantage, I guess, because you're 6-on-5.
Partial credit.
It's a power play in essence. So like this is probably, if you look at all their power plays throughout the game, this was the strongest they looked, I thought. Like with 6-on-5, and for Bouchard's credit, we railed on him pretty hard there. Yep. He did move the puck around quite effectively during this last little bit here, so we got to give him his flowers for that, because he is still a good offensive defenseman. But Leon Draisaitl has been coming up clutch for the Oilers really all season this year, and I mean, you signed that huge contract in the offseason. I don't think many people in Edmonton were complaining about that contract at all, but you heard a lot of people talking shit outside of Edmonton. Oh, $14 million for Leon Draisaitl. He's just a wingman for Connor McDavid. And then, you know, the season that he's had thus far, when McDavid missed those few games, Leon Draisaitl was excellent. He's been honestly probably their best player this season. So
I think without a doubt, Leon Draisaitl.
He's been the MVP this year.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's because Connor missed a couple of games, but Leon said leading the team in points, leading the NHL in goals now. And then we get to overtime. We make our picks. We get ready to go, and pull it up for me, Pat, is Mitch Marner. Of course it had to be Mitch Marner. And this is the Stuart Skinner discussion again because, hey, it's 3-on-3 overtime. You're going to get odd man rushes, 2-on-1s. I thought Bouchard played that one pretty well, all things considered. Mitch Marner is looking to shoot the entire way. So Stuart Skinner, of course, does not drop down to butterfly and is still standing up while he snipes on him here. This is just an ugly looking reaction from one Stuart Skinner. As I said, of course it had to be Mitch Marner. OEL was on the ice.
Yep.
He does get a plus for this in his 1,000th career game. There you see him.
What a way to finish it off.
Number 95, cap
Who
it
could
off.
forget a night like this?
The fans go home happy. But Stuart Skinner here, I just do not know what you are thinking. Like, I do know what you're thinking. You're thinking it's going to get passed over. That's why you're still on your feet there, because you want to have enough time to slide over. That is ugly, man. G-Man says Skinner hardly friggin' moved. Ryan S., that one's on Skinner. Angle was so bad. Maynard admitted we all knew it was over as soon as that 2-on-1 became a thing. Yeah, I do. Number one fan. Can you save a puck already? And once again, this is a 2-on-1 in overtime. It's a tough position to be in, but I can't sit here and continue to make excuse after excuse for Stuart Skinner because good goaltenders find a way to make that save. And he did make a couple throughout this game, but it's in those clutch moments when you need him. So far this season, he has not been able to do it. And Coomzy, this one is pretty rough. You see all the people in the chat yelling for Calvin Pickard to be the starter. I just saw Connor Brown said, UC Saros, you are an Edmonton Oiler. It's getting bad out here with the way goaltending has looked. What'd you see on that one?
That was a rough one. I really want to avoid being that guy that just leans into criticizing the goalie. You look at a highlight and you say, "Oh, he should have saved
It's only
that."
one game, and you can lean into it on one game.
It's but for this one specifically, I mean, Stuart Skinner's a pretty big guy. He's not Anthony Stolar's big, but you see Mitch Marner coming down, especially on that replay when it's from behind him, and it looks like Skinner's only covering a third of the net. Like there's so much for Marner to shoot at, and I mean, where he went low pad side, like Skinner should be able to go down to a butterfly there and cover the entire ice, but it's weird. He goes down and just isn't covering most of the net. Like you'd think maybe come out, take away some more of the angles, but just, went right back in, kind of almost balled up, like he's making himself smaller.
Yeah.
Looks like a goalie who's not confident right now.
Yeah, I see G-Man wrong one. Too deep in his net with a terrible angle. And once you're fighting it, maybe you're thinking a little bit too much, which he may.
Look at how much there is up top and at the bottom. Like he's not really covering.
He looks like he's like going in on himself. So just like, as you said, be as small as humanly possible. Al, number one fan, way to be optimistic, says, at least we got a point. Those are actually the first words Pat said to me right after the game. And I was like, I don't even want to hear that right now, but you are totally accurate as the Edmonton Oilers fall 4-3 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Nick Alberga texted me immediately after the game, rubbing it in. Host of Leafs Morning Take and a part of Leafs Nation. Stuart Skinner, 18 saves on 22 shots. Anthony Stolarz, 27 of 30 for an even 900. He came into today with a 930 save percentage, and I thought Stolarz looked pretty damn good throughout. And I don't know, man, the one thing that I never noticed about him playing in Edmonton, as we pointed out, those were dark days, and I'm trying to forget many of those memories. Anthony Stolarz is huge.
Yeah.
He is a huge man. When he was dropped down to butterfly, he was still taller than the entire net. I looked it up. He's 6'6", 234 pounds. He is a monster in the net and takes up the entire thing. And give him credit. He made saves tonight when you needed him to make them. I thought he was moving well side to side all over the net. His rebound control, pretty tame. And all things considered, he's had a very good year. And I never understood it until I saw it in person here tonight, but I believe that he could continue to have a very good season. Let's go now to our good, bad, and oily, and it's going to be brought to you by Odd Company Nation Beers. Coomzy, I could use a lot of these this evening. Okay, shout out to Odd Company. We partnered with them for the Nation Beer Everyday Lager for game day and every single day, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, whatever day you want. These things go down smoothly. Go check them out at both Odd Company locations in Edmonton or your local liquor store. If you don't know they're carrying it, go to liquorconnect.com and you can find out where it is around the city. And those of you in the chat, if you've tried these yet, please leave your review in the chat so everybody else knows that I'm being truthful, that these beers are absolutely delicious. Coomzy, you had one tonight.
I did, and I enjoyed it. I love drinking a beer.
Yeah.
Take it down nice and easy.
Tonight was a good one. We all had a couple beers, but like we won that game, I think I'd be in a much, much happier mood. I'm just sad right now, man. But let's start off with the good. We go positively here because the good this evening.
Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
Boom!
1,000 game in the NHL.
OEL got all 3 stars tonight, like McDavid did with 1,000 points. The good tonight is the penalty kill for the Edmonton Oilers. They went a perfect 4 for 4, and would you believe it, have now gone 8 for 8 in their last 3 games. Pinch me, brother, because you wouldn't think this was possible. They came into tonight. They came into tonight. He just pinched me for the podcast listeners. They came into tonight with 62.8%. God awful. You don't need me to tell you that, but they have looked a little bit better with every single game. We talked. The Islanders might just suck. Well, the Predators had a top 10 power play. They look good. And while the Leafs tonight did have a number of chances, they were zipping that puck around through and through. But specifically, when the Oilers were on the 5-on-3, and it was Troy Stecher, Brett Kulak, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. They played that triangle better than I've ever seen it before. 51 Stetch laying down, taking away passes and angles. Then it goes over to Kulak doing the exact same thing. Nuge, active sticks in the slot, getting them over the corners, winning battles, clearing them out smart, having great changes. I thought the PK tonight looked fantastic and everything about it. See, G-Man, I love how Kulak moves. Yeah, I love everything about him right now.
Look how he dances.
Number 1 fan, good. We made it to OT, but thoughts on the penalty kill this evening, Coomzy?
Well, the thing was, we talked about this before the game, which is Leafs have a pretty good power play. The Oilers have a pretty bad penalty kill. Don't take too many penalties. And what the Oilers went ahead and did in this game is took a handful of undisciplined penalties. I mean, it was funny because most of these we saw the arm go up and we were like, oh, what are these calls? Like the Connor McDavid one on John Tavares, we were thinking, what's that? And then they show the replay and it's completely unnecessary. The Matthias Ekholm one where he launches Matt Nyes into the net. He turns around and he's putting his arms in the air and Matt Nyes is in the net laughing. But I mean, from Edmonton's perspective, the penalty kill has been a disaster all season. In this game, they're going up against a good power play and they take some dumb penalties and they're able to kill all them off. That really hasn't been a thing for the team this year. I mean, the penalty kill is a weird one because, like we said before the game, they lost so many players in the offseason. You lost probably half your penalty killers in the offseason. So this is going to take them some time to figure out which players they're going to use in the PK and who's able to get the job done. So we all knew the power play was going to come around eventually, but we didn't know the penalty kill was going to come around, and it's good to see this happening.
It really is. It gives you confidence. We talked about in the playoffs that it's weird what I'm about to say, but in the NHL playoffs and specifically the Stanley Cup Finals, we had momentum shifting kills that like we would take a penalty and I would go, the odds of us scoring shorthanded are pretty damn good right now. And the fact that they would kill 2 minutes and then you'd have a rest at 97, you'd have a rest at 29, and they'd go out with the following shift. And right now, as somebody just pointed out, who was it? I know there's a lot of you in here tonight saying a lot of stuff, which I appreciate. Throw down your courtesy like as well. Here it is, Percy. I haven't felt that confidence in our PK in forever. So that's actually a big relief. I would agree with that one as well. Now we move to the bad this evening, and this was the TSN turning point because somebody put in the chat, we lost this game right after Darnell Nurse was concussed, taken out of the game. I'm just assuming he was concussed because he couldn't stand, look straight, or do anything. Pat, do we have the hit here for the highlight? Because this is a bunch of bullshit, if you ask me, with Ryan Reaves. This is an incredibly dirty play from an incredibly dirty player. Ryan Reaves blows up Darnell Nurse behind the net. The head is the key point of contact. He goes through him. You see Darnell's head. I thought it was going to do like a 180 cartoon and wrap around his entire neck. Nursey bleeding from his head, not able to even know where he was. He looked totally concussed. I mentioned he tried to get up, which no Oilers went over to go check on him for what felt like 5 or 10 seconds, and he was starting to get up, immediately went back down. The Toronto crowd was booing this when it was announced as a 5-minute major. Fuck out of here with that stuff. That is dirty as hell from a dirty player who has a history of doing exactly things. I think it's about time. Ryan Reaves, I'm still shocked you're even in this league and you do play sparingly. Well, brother, get used to the press box because I guarantee you're going to have a phone call or even an in-person hearing. He's been suspended 3 times in his career before for equally dirty stuff. He's been fined before. I'm expecting him to get the book thrown at him a little bit here right now. And Coomzy, your thoughts? That is tough to see your leader, Darnell Nurse, down like that. We've also got a back-to-back on this Eastern road trip, Monday and Tuesday. So I am thankful they brought 7 defensemen with them on this trip. But that's going to be tough. And Darnell Nurse has been playing great hockey as of late. Him and Brett Kulak have found consistency. They have looked incredibly good. And this was a total backbreaker for a minute muncher on your team who plays over 20 a night, plays second power play, plays PK. This sucked, and I hate you, Ryan Reaves.
Yeah, this was a really frustrating one, and this is something that Ryan Reaves has unfortunately been sort of known for throughout his career. And I mean, I understand what the Leafs are going for signing this player, but I mean, I think the league will be better if this isn't happening on.
I ain't got no time for this.
Yeah, this isn't making the game better. I like big hits, I like fights, I like energy, but I don't like stuff like this. I think Ryan Reaves, when he was coming in, easily could have lowered his shoulder and connected with Darnell Nurse's shoulder, his chest, his midsection, and laid a strong punishing hit that, you know, knocked him to the ground or threw him into the boards. It really would have rattled his cage. But I think Ryan Reaves had enough time and awareness to recognize that Nurse's head was coming up to around where his shoulder was, and could have come down more to make the hit more towards his body. There is fault on this. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't Ryan Reaves is moving too fast and he happened to hit Darnell Nurse's head because Darnell Nurse is, 5'10", and that's just where his head is. Nurse is a tall guy and he had to go up to get him. Yeah. So to me, given the history and given the context, this is easily at least 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, I think I could see 5 being a thing. I see an in-person hearing as well. Percy said the blood was oozing from him. And Ace96, I don't know if you're trolling. I love you. You're always in the chat as well. He said, how is that a penalty? Well, that I would say is, what question are you even asking right now? I see the chat is turned on him a little bit. Be nice. But I get his point here, and he's saying, he goes, I'm old school in my opinion. That is on Nurse. Both things can be true. Nurse needs to keep his head up, rounding a corner like that. But my God, that is hard to watch, man. He was leaking. I thought he was leaking.
Like I said, Reaves could have easily laid a strong punishing shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to midsection, shoulder to chest hit. He could have kept it lower and laid a really strong, just competitive forechecking hit, but instead he went up. He was gunning for the head. We know this because we know the kind of player he is. This isn't Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner making a hit.
Ace, he's not supposed to let up on him. He's not supposed to hit him in the head as the principal first point of contact. That is the rule. That is a suspension, and that is clear as day in there. I get your point of that. Nurse needs to keep his head up, totally. And Ryan Reaves, right? He gets limited ice time, so when he goes out there and he's on a forecheck like that, you got to know that when you're going back behind the net, 75's on the ice. He's looking to take your head off. For better or worse, that can be a larger discussion, whether you want that in the game. I do agree that Nurse needs to be aware, but it still says, Ace, wake up, buddy. I don't really understand what your point is here, but I appreciate you watching, and I appreciate talking it out in the chat.
So
Connor Brown said, because he hit him in the head. Not hard to understand. Maybe Ace has a concussion right now. Maybe we don't know that. We don't know that. With the good comes the bad, and with the bad comes the oily. And this evening, we went with blowing it. Now, you might recognize blowing it from being the bad for the previous 2 games. We thought the Reaves hit superseded it, but 3 games in a row, Coom, blowing a third period lead and going to overtime. Now, the conversation wasn't as bad the last 2 games because the Oilers found a way to close it out in overtime, mostly because 97-29 and the aforementioned Darnell Nurse are very good at 3-on-3 overtime hockey. They weren't able to get their chances tonight, but this was just become a story I've known all too well, and give them credit. They did tie the game up in the third period, so I guess you could say they did blow it. They also had the Leafs blow it in the third period too, but this has been a theme all too consistent this season, Coomzy, and it's frustrating because I've said all year here, remember last year, they'd kind of come out, first period slow, second period a little bit better. The third period would come. I would live bet comeback the Oilers every single game because the third period was their period. They had the clutch gene through and through, and this year, it's completely flip-flopped that in the third, they don't know how to close a game out. Feels like maybe they're sitting back on their laurels too much, whatever you want to say it is. Coomzy, third game in a row, they have blown it.
It's hard to pinpoint exactly what this is, but I mean, we kind of know from this one, it's those gaffes. We talked about them quite a bit at the beginning of the show. It's that Evan Bouchard pass up the middle in the third period when you know you're not supposed to make a pass up the middle in the defensive zone at any point of a hockey game, but let alone the third period in that situation. There has to be some sort of game awareness where, you know, the Oilers play a strong game largely, but how you undo a good effort is by boneheaded plays like that. And I mean, it's kind of how can you even really summarize how they continue doing this? It's just these boneheaded plays that appear throughout the course.
They keep
of
one-upping it every time.
Every time it's like a more boneheaded play that just derails the entire 60-minute effort. And that's what they have to lock up, because I mean, they just went through this in the spring with the playoff run. There isn't room for error when you're playing in those series against Dallas or a series against Florida, a team like that. If you're throwing the puck up in the middle of the ice, that's what could wind up getting you eliminated from a playoff series.
100%. And now I also want to give another good mention to Patrick Puff, because he just booted Ace from the chat. Because did he ask them to come meet him at BP's Argyle and fight?
Yeah.
I did read that correctly?
You did, yeah.
Are you serious, man? Are we in fucking high school right now, brother? What are we doing, Ace? We'll let him back in the next game. We'll just need to cool down.
It was only a 30-minute timeout. We'll be gone by then.
We'll be gone by then. So yeah, he can catch the rest of this show.
He got fired up because it was Oliver Ekman-Larsson's 1,000th game in the NHL. And, you know, it doesn't happen every night.
No, it's true. Emotions get high, tensions get high when OEL gets that 1,000 point mark. Let's move now to our hot and cold, or our boom and doom. Boom performers of the evening. And they're not brought to you by anybody, actually. Let's make them brought to you by Oodle Noodle, Patrick, because shouts out to the Oodle boys. We made a big order of Oodle Noodle this evening. Got it ordered, delivered down here to the office. Shout out. Now, it's not Oodle Noodle. I did it on DoorDash. Was that the longest delivery you've ever dealt with in your life?
Yeah.
I think it took an hour and a half.
It took 1,000 games.
Now, it's not an Oodle Noodle thing. It is a DoorDash thing, but I mean, hey, whatever. DoorDash used to be a sponsor. And as you see on your screen, shouts out to Oodle Noodle, because it's Nudesmas. Free nudes for a year. Podcast listeners, that's NOODZ. You're not getting pics, boys. Now, I'll drop the link to my OF in the chat. I'm just kidding. I don't have that. But you get free nudes for a year and other exciting prizes. It's every participating Oodle Noodle in the Edmonton area. I believe Gina said to me 16 separate locations. So you go in, you order some food, you get some delicious nudes, you drop your name in the raffle, and you might get free food for an entire year. And brother, you can never have too much Oodle Noodle. I see Jay's in here and he says, send nudes. Yep, absolutely. Also, Ryan Smith knows he had too many fish bowls. He said he's next. I was at BP's last night. I had too many fish bowls. I wasn't on the internet telling guys to come meet me and fight me. But I digress. To an homage to OEL. Do you got a boom or a doom performer this evening, Coomzy? Anybody that you want to single out for playing well? I got one, but I'll let you go first.
I'm just going to think if there's anything that stands out from tonight. And the main story tonight for me, and I mean, there was a lot of stuff. Like you have Connor McDavid coming in with 1,000 points, and what does he do next? You know, but for me, the Oliver Ekman-Larsson thing is what stands out the most. That really was what I was here for tonight. It wasn't necessarily the hockey game. It was more the milestone.
I said if I'm gonna pick somebody, there's a lot of it in here. Ryan S says it, and there's been a lot of love in the chat. Brett Kulak,
the
yet
solution,
again.
The answer.
It feels like, careful with the solution.
Oh, yeah.
Brett Kulak just appears to be getting better and better with every single game. He's skating incredibly well. We saw him get PP 2 time tonight because Darnell Nurse obviously left the game with injury. Brett Kulak yet again, and you go down a D-man, even with their 7 in the last game. It's been the big boys, the top 4, Kulak, Nurse, Ekholm, Bush, all playing 20 minutes plus a night this evening. For one, Brett Kulak, 21-28. I guess it's time to mention, I got a new signed piece of Brett Kulak memorabilia that says specifically to Bordzy on it this time. Last year it said to Aaron. So there we go. On the other one, I could say Brown Mark. I thought Matthias Janmark and Connor Brown were fantastic. I already mentioned it in the show. All over the ice. Connor Brown even agrees with Kulak there, saying keep Kulak forever. Brother, at $2.75 million, I'll take Brett Kulak till he's 40 years old because he's so consistent. Patrick, do you have any boom performers tonight?
I think.
Let's talk about the guy.
We could talk about the guy.
Let's talk about the guy. So a lot of discussion coming into tonight about one Jeff Skinner. He's been in the doghouse, played under 10 minutes, slightly over 10 minutes, been on the fourth line, but he did get a little rotation spot tonight. But Pat, we talked on pre-gaming that he's in the doghouse. I believe Nobby, but personally, I haven't really understood why he's been in the doghouse in his limited ice time. He's been all over the ice. You mentioned last game he played 10 minutes, had 4 shots on goal. So I tasked you this evening. We said he's probably going to have limited ice time. So it's going to be probably easier to count his shifts. We asked you to give a letter grade after every shift. Now, I don't know if you actually did in that remark, but overall, what letter grade would you give Jeff Skinner tonight?
Yeah, I didn't necessarily do every shift, but I kind of split it up into periods. And I think, I gave out a lot of A's and a lot of C's. Yeah. So I think I averaged it out for the entire game at a B-. Now, it's tough, though, because only 11 minutes of ice time. I already tweeted out that, it's hard to get your game going with only 11 minutes of ice time. We did see him out there briefly with Connor McDavid and Corey Perry for whatever reason. Well, lots of power plays and penalties. That stuff happens. But, I didn't think he played a bad game. I didn't really see anything too crazy that I would limit his ice time as much as we have. But he also didn't really stand out too much in the moment. So I think, B- is somewhere where he sits. But what I can say is he wasn't the worst Skinner on the ice tonight.
Oh, that hurts to even think about it. Should I celebrate that? No, probably not. Maynard said, can Pat ban himself? If you get a B-, that's what you asked, but it's tough. And the limited ice time he has, I do notice Jeff Skinner in the offensive zone. He does look like his wheels, which are limited, but he's trying to get his wheels moving. He's trying to get in the dangerous areas. He is around the action all the time. Just been a story of that for many guys this season. Like Rico did get on the board tonight, but he's a guy who's been kind of around it, but just can't bury one. Coomzy, your thoughts on one Jeff Skinner?
He's a weird player.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's a sort of a bizarre player. You see him in the offensive zone. He'll have the puck or he'll get a shot. You'll hear his name come up, Jeff Skinner, shot on goal, but then you won't notice him until the next period or something like that. I feel like I don't remember seeing him at all in the first
He's not
period.
fast. He's not super physical.
No.
He's not great defending one-on-one battles. He has a shot.
But if he's not scoring goals, then
you're not really doing
it. That's how it works with guys like this. They go on cold streaks and you're like, where is this guy? So Jeff Skinner, the way it's got to be for him is if he's not scoring goals, and it's kind of hard to notice him. So he's got to get off the schneid here and put a puck in the back of the net.
Yeah, he's been on that fourth line there, very limited minutes, and the discussion gets even deeper when it's way down the road. But when Evander Kane comes back into this lineup, I don't know when that will be. Will he be LTR'd? Will he be playoffs? Will he come in the regular season? But it'll be curious to see because right now he's the odd man out, clearly. The fact that Matthias Janmark is getting more minutes than him on that left side of the ice is a little crazy to me, but Janmark's deserved it more right now. I see some people saying he needs to reprogram his entire game. How old is he? 30-something? I don't think that's going to be...
Slam the reset button. Let's start from scratch.
Ryan Smith just says, my name is Jeff.
My name is Jeff.
My name is Jeff.
Does he want to try defense, maybe?
Should we
probably find a spot?
Put him in net.
Just swap the Skinners and see what happens. Honestly, at this fucking point, I don't even know what's worth it. You might be able to do that. Our Doom performers this evening. Do we have any Doomers? Obviously, Evan Bouchard and Stuart Skinner. I don't want to get angry again, and I don't want to get fired up again and rant about it again. Would you agree? Is there anybody else you could think to be a Doom performer?
Ryan Reaves.
Ryan Reaves. There you go.
Didn't like that at all.
There you go. Let me know, anybody in the chat, what are you thinking for Doom performers? Pat, you got anyone? I really do feel like I'm putting it on 2 guys, and I shouldn't, but I'm going to.
Yeah, and I don't really want to necessarily call it a Doom performer, but I just still think I want to see that next level from Nuge. Like, I'm just waiting for it, and not bad. He's not playing bad. It's just, he just feels a little cold right now.
I said, we talked about it. There was a big discussion here in the office tonight. Is Nuge banged up?
Looks like it.
It kind of looks like he's shying away from contact. Looks like he's overthinking going into board battles and whatnot. Doesn't look as fast. I would also argue, depending how much you look at his baby face, he is getting older. He has been in this league for how many years now? Coomzy, your thoughts on Ryan Nugent-Hopkins lately? And I don't want to speculate and say a guy's injured. He just looks different, and he looks like a shell of the 100-point man, 36 goals that we got a couple years ago. That seems very, very long time ago. Your thoughts on the Nuge lately?
Yeah, we were talking about this during the game, and it kind of looks like his defensive effort's still there, and that's kind of where he's pouring it. So if he's not at 100%, then he's putting more of his energy into the defensive side of the ice, which is, I think, makes sense given his position on the team and who he is as a two-way forward. But the offense isn't there, specifically the shooting. There's been some instances in the power play and a few at even strength as well.
Doesn't take enough shots right there from Greg.
And then, because so far this year, he only has one goal, and he's only taken, shots on goal, he only has a handful. It hasn't really been the Nugent-Hopkins season you expect, where he's around the net.
Death taxes, Nuge low blocker.
Of course,
haven't seen that at all.
That snipe that he'll have from like the top of the face-off circle or the hash mark or something like that. The shot's not coming off the stick as quickly as usual this year, and I wonder if it's like a shoulder or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like it's upper body injury.
Extremely Oilers injury, a shoulder injury, nagging shoulder injury.
Yeah, I see from Gregor. He said he just looks safe, plays a defense game, and doesn't take enough shots. And that's got to give his credit because he is a good defender. He is aware. He is defensively responsible. And who pointed out right here, final, we were all just praising Nuge on the PK 20 minutes ago. Yes, but it's been his offensive game. And you are a top-line winger with Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman. I need you to produce more. Do I believe
It's looking like Anton Lander out there.
Well, guy wore the C for Sweden, brother. Don't put some respect on one Anton Lander's name. Let's move now. Let's talk some bets, courtesy of our friends from Bet365. Bordzy's Bankroll, brought to you by Bet365, proud partner of Oilersnation After Dark. Open an account today and bet on a huge range of markets. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app today and use the code NATION Nation. So we look here tonight for the bets. Bordzy was placing Connor McDavid. He got 4 shots on goal. Now, you guys were with me. He got a one-on-one opportunity in overtime, and I was losing my mind after I saw him. He got stopped by Stolarz, but it was the 4th and final shot on goal. I celebrated it like the Oilers had just won.
And then what happened?
And we leave that part out. Which, if that didn't happen, my second bet here would have cashed. Oil money line and 97 1+ point. Nice and juiced up at 150, but that unfortunately did not happen. Then the third and final one also cashed that. 29 dry, 1+ power play points, plus 190. Took a shot that deflected off of Zach Hyman right onto the blade of one Connor McDavid. So 2 for 3, all of them pluses. So I'm definitely up on the evening tonight, but I'm frustrated. I have not gone 3 for 3 all year so far. I have come incredibly close, but tonight was not my night. Patrick, did you place any wagers this evening?
Yeah.
Bet365.
Yeah, I hopped on that dry power play point with you. And now I have money to play with tomorrow for football. So I'm pretty excited about that.
There you go. Yeah, tomorrow's going to be a good. Oh, I still got the UFC fights. That's right.
True.
Anybody know? Have they, as the main card, it's definitely started. Okay, I still got time here. Is there anything else that we have not touched on? Let me know in the chat.
Oliver Ekman-Larsson's 1,000th game.
Have we talked about that yet?
We haven't brought it up yet.
Dude, did you guys know that OEL has played over 1,000 NHL games? I said we should commit to the bit. We'll all just order OEL jerseys from
Let's say 1,000.
Get custom made, and with Ekman-Larsson and 1,000 on the back. It'd be the most surface area ever taken up on a jersey before. Just some notes I had written down. Bobby McMahon, I think that guy's going to be trouble. He's a very young, skilled, fast, big forward. I would love him to be an Edmonton Oiler. Other one, when Leon flipped that puck into the boards, or up into the stands.
That was so
funny and so weird. He just hopped it up on his burger flipper, whipped it out over the stands and into the crowd where no one was expecting. Leon did like a little loop, and even he went, sorry, didn't mean to do that one. Didn't mean to do that. That was, I think, a funny point in the game. Anything else that really stood out to you? Not really. I think we've kind of touched on it all. What Davin said, he just turned on the fights. Read that. I'm not going to read that, but that is funny. Final thing we could say here, I saw Oilers Goat mentioned it. We'll close on this. A negative. What if Darnell Nurse is out for an extended period of time? Because that was no regular hit. That looked like worst concussion I've seen in a while for somebody on the Edmonton Oilers. He was leaking. I said, we thought at one point, we were like, is he bleeding from his eye? Like, I thought like his visor went into his face. I don't even know where he was specifically cut. He looked like a warrior skating off the ice with his whole white jersey covered in blood. But Coomzy, he's out for an extended period of time. For an already shaky Edmonton Oilers decor, this is not good news. And I said, say what you want about Darnell. He's been playing very, very good lately. And it's just that he's been good. Not great, but good. And the Oilers are going to miss him, especially you have to think back-to-back Monday, Tuesday. You're not getting the doctor in those games.
No, it's hard to imagine he'll be playing.
I bet he's on a flight back to Edmonton.
Yeah, it'd be surprising if he played in the rest of this road trip, given the games are on Monday and Tuesday. It doesn't seem like a worthwhile risk to take, given the situation. If there's any potential that he might have a concussion, you don't want him to play in back-to-back nights. There's just no way. But Darnell Nurse, put the contract aside, put all of it aside. He takes a lot of crap here. He plays a lot of minutes, gets paid a lot. But what I think fans will realize, and because he hasn't really spent much time on the injured reserve over the past handful of years. He's largely played. He's been on the ice throughout most of his career with the Oilers. If Darnell Nurse does miss an extended period of time, I think fans will sort of see the impact he does have on the team.
And when nobody's fighting anybody, you're going to go, wow, I miss Darnell too.
With all those minutes that he logs up, I mean, not always easy to fill that, and you can do a lot worse. I mean, I understand that people don't like the contract and this and that, but not having Nurse.
Contract aside, we need Nurse, says G-Man. Oilers go, it says Nurse might go to LTIR. That was too nasty. I don't know about that. I don't want to speculate. Final buzzer. Can Kulak just play 60 minutes? You have to think he's going to be the one that's depended on. But you got Ekholm, you got Kulak. I like Stetcher, but there's a reason he's playing a limited ice time throughout this. Emerson has looked better, so I think he's going to be shouldering more of that load and stepping up in Darnell's absence. And then somebody mentions it here. Is this where we finally get a look at year 1 of year 3 of Josh Brown?
Do we?
Are we all happy we got him for 3 years now?
Are we finally gonna get a look at Ronnie Attard?
I guess true. Hey,
let's got Ronnie Attarded up in here. Let's do it.
I don't really know anything about the dude as well.
The only thing I know about him,
should ask Bruce Kurlock about that.
The only interesting thing I know about him is that he was the D-man that came up when Keith Yandel's Iron Man streak ended. When the Flyers scratched Keith Yandel, Ronnie Attard was the rookie that came into the lineup.
And it's right, like, let me bring him in. Bouchard is your top 2 D-man, and I am not confident with him because I don't know what I'm going to get from shift to shift. So I am a little bit nervous. Matthew says literally the one time we all see Nurse play amazing tonight, he gets injured. Gosh, it's hard to be a fan of this team. That is not literally the one time we've all seen Darnell Nurse be good. It's not speaking hyperbole. He's completely okay, but it's going to be tough without him. And final buzzer, Dermott is lacking. Yeah, as well. Maybe let's just knock on wood, and we hope that Darnell Nurse will be okay. And he's in a dark room right now with no computer screens, no lights, no noise, no nothing. But don't let him fall asleep, right? When you get a concussion rate, you can't fall asleep. Lesson for the kids at home. That'll do it for us tonight for Oilers Nation After Dark. Shout out to you, Coomzy, my co-host, hanging out here all night. Patrick Puff doing a bang-up job producing behind the scenes. I love you all in the chat. Please throw down your courtesy like. Make sure you are subscribed. Ace96, I still love you too, but I'm not going to go to Argyle Boston Pizza if I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm a little scared. Big shouts out to our sponsors, Greta Bar Yeg, Odd Company, Bet365, Oodle Noodle, and I do believe that is all of them. We'll be live Monday, 12:01 Mountain Standard Time for Oilers Nation every day. Me, Tyler, Liam, and Monday, it's going to come fast because we got pre-gaming at 4 p.m. on Monday, and then I think it's 4:30 on Tuesday as we take on the Habs and Senators. It's going to be a busy week here at Oilers Nation. Everybody, go enjoy your Saturday night. Go check out Greta Bar Yeg downtown. Enjoy football tomorrow. I'm going to have my ass glued to the couch all night. Pat, I think I'm going to be in Fort Saskatchewan tomorrow for a little bit of a Sunday fun day. So if anybody's in the Fort, come on down to the brew house. That's the place, right? In the Fort, it's all about the brew house?
There's a couple different places, but yeah, the brew house is
What are the other places? Bears Den?
Bears Den's good, and yeah, that's pretty much
it. Okay, yeah. The big city, baby, coming on out to the Fort. I love you all. Throw down your like. Sleep tight. Good night, everybody.